What's up, everyone? Kriddle here, and I have been asked quite a lot when I'm playing First Descendant what my favorite Descendants are and which ones I like to use and what's the best ones and all that kind of stuff. So I figured I'd make a quick tier list. This isn't going to be a comprehensive, the best overall of what everything is great about each of the individual characters, that kind of thing. But what I feel are good characters, bad characters, and a little bit about why. So as you can see here, I've got all of the characters down here at the bottom. We're going to go through each one of them. I even have the ultimate characters on here, but sometimes, most of the time, the ultimate character and the normal version of the character are going to be the same. There are a few exceptions, and I've got a couple of notes over here as well to kind of keep me on track. Hopefully, we'll see what we can do. But we're just going to start out from left to right. I believe these are in alphabetical order for the most part, but we're going to start out with Ajax here. So Ajax, in my opinion, is a fantastic defensive character. He also has a really, really good jumping build. Some people call it like a jumping jacks build, that kind of thing. So, if you build him properly around that, build up his defensive or build up his jumping jacks build, he can be very good in those two scenarios. The void charge or the explosive void explosion for the jumping jacks build are necessary, and both of those come with the regular Ajax and ultimate Ajax. That would put, for me, Ajax around a B or A tier. I'm going to put him down here at the B tier. He's not great, but he's not terrible. Very few things, in my opinion, are terrible in this game, but I'm also going to throw ultimate Ajax up here in the B tier as well, because there's really nothing that makes these two different. Having ultimate Ajax with the same modules does not move him up a rank, in my opinion, because it just kind of increases his defense a little bit more. I think it might increase his HP a little bit more. There isn't a huge difference between the two, because the main difference in a regular character and an ultimate character is usually a transcendent module that only works on the ultimate character. So we're going to put both Ajax and ultimate Ajax here at the B tier. Not a bad character, but there are better at doing pretty much everything except for defensively. That's why I would say almost A tier if you really want a defensive character. The problem is with this game, the First Descendant, the way it currently is set up, having super defensive characters is just really not necessary. You need to have enough defense on your character so you don't die, but having somebody go full on defense just isn't worthwhile. So I think like the jumping jacks build is probably the best way to go, because you can do a lot of mobbing and still have enough defense to be able to throw down your bubble and pick up all the people that do die around you. So next up, we're going to talk about Blair. Blair, in my opinion, is one of the better characters in the game, and I'm not kidding when I say that. I think he's very underlooked, I guess, or I guess people overlook him is the way to say that. But Blair is a fantastic character. He's up there, with the mobbing. He can also do very good damage. Doing the mobbing, he can use the classic chef module, and he can use mostly the classic chef module to do a lot of the puddles, the fire puddles all over the ground. That's the main way I do mobbing with him. And then bossing, I would get backdraft mod if you're going to go do a Colossus or something. It gets his firearm attack and crit rate and everything very, very high, much like Enzo or Valby. If Valby is using the supply moisture, Enzo uses his whatever it's called. I can't remember off the top of my head. If I can find it on my list here. Anyway, we'll get to him. Supply firearm enhancer. That's what it's called. So I'm going to take Blair. I'm honestly going to put him up here at the A tier. He is a very, very good character. And I believe that a lot of people just overlook him because he's not an ultimate character. There's no ultimate version of him, but he can do just as much firearm damage and can be just insane with putting down these fire puddles everywhere. And a lot of people don't know this. Those fire puddles, when they're on the ground, will hit the orbs floating over the boss's head. So like Valby's water puddle in the bottom does not do that. But Blair's fire does hit those. The last thing I want to say about Blair is the truly deadly cuisine is really fun for doing like these huge fireballs with the big numbers, millions of damage. It's fun, but it's not really practical in normal use. But, it's just a little added fun to Blair. Next up, we have Bunny and Ultimate Bunny. Now, we are going to put these into two different categories. I said that, most of the characters are not going to be that much different. I'm going to take Bunny, and we're going to put Bunny in A tier. Bunny is probably the best mobber in the game because she's so easy to use. She can just run around and just zap everything super duper easy. And you don't need the transcendent mods for her at all to make her work. So you really just can throw a bunch of stuff into Bunny, increase her area of effect, and just run around like crazy, and she's super easy to play. Now, as far as Ultimate Bunny, we're going to move her up into S tier, and the reason for that is specifically because of High Voltage. High Voltage changes her AoE ability into 3 targets, but it does significantly more damage for each pulse instead of hitting every enemy in a range. So you can do a lot more damage with Bunny, and honestly, using High Voltage even for mobbing is very, very good because it still kills everything in one shot. She gets between 1 and 2 million damage per hit when she uses High Voltage, and that's way overkill for most mobbing, which still allows her to be able to use that when she's running around doing bosses and stuff. Now, she's not the best Colossus character in the game, so I would almost put her down a tier into A tier. However, her mobbing is so good that I just have to put her up in S tier because she's technically, in my opinion, the best mobber in the game. Other characters can compete with that once you build them up properly, but they're just more difficult to play. So Bunny is just super easy to play. You literally just have to run around and win. Next up, we have Enzo. So we're going to take Enzo, and what is good about Enzo? There's 2 things about Enzo that make him fantastic. One is he can do vaults, right? He can go out, he makes vaults so much easier to do, and you want to do the vaults. You want to be able to use your code breakers, get the vaults, to get the Kuiper for one thing, but then also you have to get specific materials to be able to make your catalyst and your energy activators and all those kinds of things. So you have to have Enzo, honestly, to be able to play this game if you want to collect a lot of things and if you want to be able to unlock a lot of things. He's almost a mandatory character, much like Sharon, and we'll get to Sharon later on. But not only does Enzo have that vault, making the vaults a lot easier, but he also has this supply firearm enhancer, which increases the crit damage, I believe, and the and the weak point damage of anyone who touches his little ammo thing that he puts down, right? So I think it's his Q ability or his 1 ability. So that increases the amount of damage that everyone does for that entire clip. There's no duration to it or anything. It's just 1 full clip. So if you use something like an enduring legacy that has 100 plus bullets, 130, some people have like 150, 60 bullets on there. It's insane the amount of damage it does because he already has high crit rate with that weapon. That just increases his damage. His crit rate goes up. His damage goes up. Everything just goes up. And if you hit weak points, it just goes through the roof. And that goes for anyone that uses that. So if you take an Enzo and stack it with something like a Blair, and the Blair is using the backdraft ability, or a Valby that's using supply moisture ability, they stack on top of each other, and it gives them all 100% crit rate and then increased crit damage, and it just makes them insane. So in my opinion, I'm going to throw Enzo up here at an A tier. I would take him down to a B tier, but I think he's good at A tier because he can do both outside things with the vaults, and then he's amazing for mobbing because he can give everybody else damage. He's great for Colossus. He's just a great all-around character to have in your party. So that's Enzo. Esiemo. Let's talk about Esiemo for a minute. This character is, in my opinion, the absolute worst character in the game. Even after the recent update in making his abilities supposedly better and fixing some of it, he's just still bad. He's just so bad. The reason for that is not because he is bad. It's because every other character in the game can do what he can do better. Like literally, he can do mobbing, but not very good. He has to place down his bombs everywhere. Then he has to detonate those bombs. So, he can do a lot of mobbing, but you have to kind of think ahead of time. Why would you do that when you can just have Bunny just run around in circles? Or you could have Jayber, who could just throw down turrets everywhere, and then you don't have to think about them anymore. You don't have to activate them. They're just there. So Esiemo, sorry, buddy, you're going D tier. The worst character in the game. He really, really, really needs some more work to him. And that's all I can really say about it. There's literally nothing about Esiemo that's good, except for maybe his cluster bomb. I do like the cluster bomb when I'm playing as Esiemo. I have put in several catalysts into him. In fact, I've put in several catalysts into almost every single character. I've played every one of these characters, leveled them up to at least level 40, and in most of them I put in some catalysts. And I've tried out a lot of different types of ways to play them. And Esiemo is just not fun. He's probably the least fun character because, it's just throw down bombs, detonate bombs, throw down bombs, detonate bombs. He doesn't really do anything else. Sure, he can roll. You have the new ability where he can sprint. The new, his ultimate ability used to take forever to charge up before he starts running forward. That is better now. It is way better because as soon as you hit it, he just starts sprinting and he's throwing out bombs and explosions everywhere. That is fantastic. However, he just doesn't hold up to anybody else. I mean, you put Bunny up there, right? Bunny runs through, everything dies. Esiemo runs through. Sure, everything's going to die, just slower. That's all there is to it. All right, so that's Esiemo, D tier. Worst character in the game, in my opinion. Freyna. Freyna got a huge update and a huge quality of life update recently. Now, this didn't make her, in my opinion, astronomically better. There's a lot of YouTube videos out there right now that are saying, oh my God, Freyna's the best character ever. She was already pretty good. The problem with Freyna is that she is reliant on her dot damage over time. So you have to put on a lot of dots and you have to hit a lot of enemies to be able to ramp up her damage. Well, what they did with her is they changed contagion so that now, I believe before it didn't do this. Now it does do this. When an enemy dies, it puts contagion down. Again, it just explodes around them. So it continues to spread contagion to everything, doing a lot of damage. This is, in my opinion, put Freyna upwards of an A or B tier character. She used to be a C, B character. I'm going to move her up to an A tier character. Now, her 4 ultimate ability has always been pretty good, especially if you use the right weapons with it so she can get some crazy fire attack rate on there, things like that. And you have to get that cooldown way down, and you can constantly use her number 4 ultimate ability. But this really puts Freyna up at the top. Now, there is currently a Freyna, Ultimate Freyna version. She is coming out on the 10th, so in a couple of days. And there's probably going to be a new Transcendent mod. I think there is a new Transcendent mod that they have announced for her. That might make some difference. It might move her up to the S tier, or it might just solidify her in that A tier. Right now, though, I think she's on the verge of an A-B tier. I'm going to put her at A tier because I think that the way that Contagion works is very similar to the way Blair or Bunny works when they do some mobbing. It puts them up there near the top. Now, Bunny is probably still the better mobber just because she's easier, but you can take Freyna and just put puddles all over the place and not have to worry about it, especially on missions. I think Blair and Freyna and Valby are better on missions where things don't move. You know that everything's going to spawn in this little area, so you can just cover that entire area. And that's why I think that they beat Bunny in a lot of mobbing situations. Bunny is better at running straight through stuff, but these other characters, Blair, Freyna, they can put these puddles everywhere, and everything just dies instantly as soon as it spawns, which is awesome. So that's why I'm going to put her in the A tier. Next up, we have Gley, I guess. Gley. So I was putting these in, hopefully in alphabetical order. So Gley. Now, a lot of people love Gley, right? And I'm going to be a little bit controversial here because there's a lot of people that are like, Gley is amazing. She's one of the best characters. She's one of the early characters that everyone loved because of her unlimited ammo. And everybody was like, she's the best colossal killer in the game, yada, yada, yada. I mean, she's good. But I'm going to take Gley and I'm going to put her in the C tier. The reason for that is because to me, she's very boring. She's a boring character to play, and she damages herself so much. So with Gley, you want to do either Predator Instinct, which is going to increase her, her firearm attack power. It's going to increase that, or you can use her what's the other one called? Massive Sanguification. And that's probably the better way to go. Massive Sanguification might put her up into B tier for me, maybe, if you do that with her ultimate ability, and then you give her a Python and you really, go crazy with her ultimate ability, unlimited ammo, shooting at whatever it is, 900 rounds per second or minute or whatever it is. I don't even know. It's nuts, right? That does make her good, but the problem is, and still in my opinion, is that she's damaging herself every single time. So you need that massive sanguification so that she can heal back up. If you don't get health drops, what are you going to do? Another really good build for her right now is the Executor. A lot of people are really loving that, which does, in my opinion, put her up in the B tier, but that's specifically Gley with an Executor, and she still is still damaging herself so often. You have to get lucky with those health mods, or you need to have somebody like Yujin in your group to heal you back up. However, you also are putting in the mods that you want to do. You're going to be doing more damage when she has less than 50% health. So you have to figure out a way to balance that so that you have under 50% health, but you don't die. So you don't really want Yujin fully healing you. So to me, she's just a terrible character to play. Not very fun. Way too much energy to really get the job done when you can just take an Enzo, pop down his little firearm turret thing or whatever it's called, and just go crazy on a Colossus. It might, you might kill 2 seconds faster with Gley over an Enzo, but honestly, who cares? So that's why I'm going to put her down at a C tier. She's just not a fun character for me to play. And that is what it is. Hailey. Hailey is like the new, everybody loves her because there's a lot of people that like Sharon. They wanted to do, big numbers. And then Hailey comes along and is just like, who's Sharon? Who's this girl that's doing sniper damage? Hailey is S tier. She is the best boss killer in the game. I'm sorry, but she is, right? People may disagree with me on that. She is the best. The reason for that is because she can use her number 4 ability. She can get guaranteed 100% crit rates, and she can hit weak points and keep her mana maxed out and just sit there and spam. I have my Hailey built up so that I have 8 shots with her number 4 ability, and I think it's about a 20-second cooldown, maybe a little bit under a 20-second cooldown on her number 4 ability. So she can just sit there and do 8 shots, boom, 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 and then she can run around, with, let's say, an Enduring Legacy or whatever, kill a few of the little roly-poly guys in a Colossus fight, get some health back, get some mana back if she needs it. She shouldn't need it because she can regenerate her own mana if you hit the weak points, and then boom, she's doing another 30 million damage 20 seconds later. She is absolutely insane damage wise, and she can just spam that button so much that you can't really beat her. You cannot beat Hailey damage wise on boss fights. Now, when you take Hailey, I would drop her down to an A tier simply because mobbing is very, 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 very bad on her. But just like Bunny's mobbing is so good that her boss killing doesn't matter as much, right? You're going to be using Bunny for mobbing. Well, Hailey, you're going to be using Hailey for boss killing. You're not really going to be using her for mobbing. So that's why I put these two in S tier, because they're S tier at their main ability. Now, there are some characters. For example, Blair is one of those characters, and I think that Freyna is one of those characters, and that Valby, which we're going to get to here in a little bit, is one of those characters that can do both mobbing really, really well and boss fights really, really well, but they can't do either of those as well as these two characters. They're close, but they just can't do it. So that's why I'm putting these in S tier. In my opinion, that's kind of like a special tier rather than they're the best, but they are the best at doing the thing that they do, if that makes sense. Hopefully it does. Kyle is the second worst character in the game. We're going to put him down here in D tier with Esiemo. I just don't see a point in having Kyle, right? He is defensively, we have Ajax. Ajax is better. He's just better at defense. The only thing that Kyle can do is he can put out a shield and he can walk around with it. Whoopity doo. There's really nothing, in my opinion, that changed with the update recently. His Superman build thing was really fun when it was broken, all that kind of stuff. But even after they buffed it recently with this new update, it still does not, in my opinion, carry any weight. He doesn't hit hard enough with it. Very similar to Blair using his, what is it called? Truly Deadly Cuisine and throwing his fireball, his number 4 ability. It's just not strong enough to use, and Kyle's the same way. There's just no reason to use that Superman ability. You're better off just taking an Enduring Legacy and pulling the trigger and firing at something. So there you go. That's where Kyle is. He's going to be down here with Esiemo. They need some work. They both need a lot of love. Lepic. So Lepic is another one of those characters that we're going to put into 2 different categories, very similar to what we did with Gley, Ultimate Gley. By the way, I forgot to do Ultimate Gley. Ultimate Gley is going to stay right here with regular Gley, and the reason for that is because there isn't an Ultimate Gley mod that makes her any different, right? She might be a little bit stronger, a little bit better, because she's going to get a little bit more health, a little bit more shield, things like that, because she's Ultimate version. But ultimately, there's nothing that makes her any different. All right, so there we go. Let's just get that out of the way. Gley, Ultimate Gley. There you go. Now, Lepic. So we have 2 different ways to build Lepic. We have the Ultimate Lepic, Firearm Master ability, and then we have just the regular Lepic. Lepic, in my opinion, is a very, very, very good character. He's fantastic. One of the things that makes him so good is his grenade that sucks everything in, and then hand him a Thunder Cage, and he's just going to suck everything in and destroy it. If there's like a Valby or a Blair or a Bunny or Freyna or something, they could put down a puddle, and then Lepic just puts everything on top of that puddle, and boom, it all dies. Lepic is fantastic. Whoa, holy moly, that glitched out there for a second. We're going to take Lepic, and I'm going to put him in B tier. And a lot of people are probably like, whoa, why would you do that? Why would you put Lepic in B tier? He's so good. That's because Ultimate Lepic, with his Firearm Master, moves him up a tier. So we're going to take Ultimate Lepic and we're going to put him into A tier because of Firearm Master. If you don't have Firearm Master, Ultimate Lepic moves down to B tier, in my opinion. Now, why isn't he an S tier character? He's fantastic at mobbing, and he's also fantastic. Well, honestly, we're going to move Ultimate Lepic up into S tier. Okay, we're going to go ahead and do that. The reason is because he can do everything really, really well. Is he going to do the amount of damage that Hailey will do? No, because his cooldown is not fast enough to be able to do what Hailey does, to be able to do so much damage. But he can mob way better than Hailey. Now, can he mob better than Bunny? No, Bunny can mob way better. However, on bosses, Ultimate Lepic can do more damage on a boss than a Bunny can. So Ultimate Lepic is probably the best character if you want to be able to run around, do a lot of mobbing using his attraction grenade thing. That thing gets huge. The radius on it gets absolutely insane. And you can suck everything in. You can get that sub 3 seconds. And then you can get, I think, the duration up to like 2 seconds. So you're just throwing it, sucking everything in, throwing another one, sucking it in. And it's just like constant. So you're constantly pulling everything together. Nothing gets a chance to do anything. So in my opinion, his mobbing is up there with Bunny's. And it's just as easy because you just have to throw the grenade out and then just start shooting with pretty much any weapon. But I recommend using the Thunder Cage because of the explosion. And then his boss killing and those kind of things, he can burn bosses down and Colossus down extremely fast. But to do that, his cooldown is going to be like 2 minutes or something. So he basically has to die, reset his cooldown. If you want to get his cooldown low enough to be able to do that consistently with Hailey, then he's not going to be as good. Hailey's going to be able to do more damage, and his damage is going to be significantly lowered. But because he can do both of those things really, really, really well, very close to these two characters, I'm going to say he's an S tier because he can blend those two together to make an amazing character. Next up, we have Sharon. A lot of people that come into my stream, they know that I was a Sharon main from the beginning. I love Sharon. And I think she's fantastic. I think she can do mobbing, although she's not very good at it. She was a good bosser for a while, and then Hailey comes in and like blows her out of the water. I would have put Sharon either up here with an S or maybe A tier in the beginning, the first couple weeks of the game, even a couple months into the game. Now, however, I'm going to move Sharon down to a B tier. I would possibly move her up to an A tier. And the reason I would move her up to an A tier is because she's the best character for doing outpost. So she's kind of like Enzo when it comes to that. So I would almost, we could put her in A tier. I could put her in B tier. I could find a reason for both of those. But because like Enzo, she has a very specific thing that she does, which is outpost. If you want to be able to get every single weapon in the game, every single character in the game, you're going to want or need to do outpost a lot. And just like Enzo doing those vaults. But then on top of that, Sharon can do some crazy good damage, especially if you use her abilities. Let me look over here. So she's got her sniper abilities, which obviously is outshined by Hailey at this point, but her overcharge edge mod that allows her to spam her, to do really high damage and then get her cooldown really, really low so that you can spam her cloak and then shoot and then cloak and then shoot and then cloak and then shoot. So she's constantly doing high damage. The only problem is she runs out of ammo. So if you have something like a piercing light, which is my preferred gun on Sharon, she runs out of ammo very, very quickly, but you can kill bosses very fast. I was able to kill pretty much every solo boss in the game in under a minute with Sharon. Now, when I got onto Hailey and I leveled her up, I was able to do it in 10 seconds. So that's the difference in those. You can kill something a lot faster with Hailey because she just basically just does so much damage so fast. But Sharon can just cloak, shoot, cloak, shoot, cloak, shoot. And then if you add in, she's got her Q ability, which, if you mod it using the Transcendent mod, you can make this big bubble dome thing. That's very good for mobbing, but I like to use her ninja sword slash thing. I don't even remember what it's called right now. And it's a lot of fun to play with. So that's why I would put her up here at the A or maybe B tier. Like it's a tough call for me. I probably would put her at A tier because I just like her play style and I like her a lot. However, for the average person, I'd probably put her down here at B tier. So I'm going to leave her at A tier for me, but if you play her, most likely you'd be like, nah, she's a B tier character. She's a very certain type of play style that you have to enjoy. Okay. Next up, we have Jayber. These are not even in order anymore. So I don't know. I had them in alphabetical order, I thought, but whatever. It doesn't matter. So we're going to take Jayber. Now, a lot of people got mad at me. I put out a video on Jayber saying my Jayber's better than your bunny, right? People got upset about that. They were like, my bunny's way better than your Jayber. Whatever. Doesn't matter. I wasn't talking directly to anyone specific. I was just kind of making a general statement. On average, my Jayber is probably better than your average bunny. It is what it is, right? The average bunny runs around and just is doing all sorts of crazy stuff. You see that I have a bunny up here at S tier. Bunny built properly, one of the best characters in the game. But bunny built terribly, or bunny that they don't know how to play her, which is the average player, is awful. Awful. She has low health. She does low damage. And people just don't know what they're doing. They're running. I've seen people on Bunny that just sit there and shoot guns, and it's like, what are you doing? You just run as Bunny. Don't stop moving as Bunny, and you win. That's all you have to do. So Jayber. Anyway, Jayber, I'm going to put up here as a B or A tier character right now. A lot of people are going to disagree with me on this. I'm going to put him as a B tier character. The reason for that, though, I would put him as an A tier probably for myself, much like Sharon, but I'm going to put him down here as a B tier character. And the reason that I say that is because you do have to juggle his turrets, right? You have to put down a turret and it can be kind of a pain in the butt. If you don't know where enemies are going to spawn, then putting down a turret, and then you got to move the turret, and then you got to wait for cooldowns and all those kind of things. But as you get better at the game, as you learn the spawns of the game and the weaknesses of different enemies and those kinds of things, you are going to know what to do with Jayber and where to place him. And it's going to move him up to an A tier character, potentially an S tier character. If he ever gets any love like Freyna got, or like even Esiemo and Kyle got, because they were so garbage that they had to get some love, they would have been down like F tier characters until recently. They moved up to a D tier, to be honest with you. So Jayber, if he gets any love whatsoever, he's probably going to jump up to S tier, at least A tier, but probably S tier. He's a really, really, really strong character that I think is going to be clutch in the game later on, especially as we see some of the newer Colossus that are going to be coming out, and they're supposedly making them more and more and more difficult each time. You're going to need healer type characters like Yujin, but then Jayber is also one of those where he puts down a heal. But I personally, with Jayber, like to use attacking compulsion. That gives him 2 attacking turrets. And then his number 4 ability will destroy those turrets, but then make it to where every time you put them up, they instantly have the buff. So if you use his number 2 ability, he or maybe it's his number 3 ability. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. Anyway, if you use his ability where you have to shoot his little, power gun thing, whatever, at his turrets, and it makes them stronger, it does AoE damage every 1/3 of a second. That's really what makes Jayber so good. A lot of people are just throwing down their turrets and watching them, and Jayber's garbage. He's a D tier character if you just throw down the turrets and let them shoot things, because the shooting is so slow, and it does 100% of your firearm damage. I think it's 100% of your firearm damage, and your gun itself though will shoot significantly faster. But what makes Jayber so good is he's putting down these turrets that have a huge radius on them, and if you charge them up or soup them up or whatever, get them to the max duration, and they will also start to pulse damage every 1/3 second. And those just absolutely annihilate all the little enemies that appear everywhere. If you put that near a boss or Colossus or something, it's just constantly hitting them, in addition to the gun shooting them, in addition to while those things are going off, you can use your own gun to shoot. He's a really, really strong character, but you need to know the game really well. If you know the game really well, he's an A tier character. If you are just learning how to play Jayber, he's a D tier character. The average player, however, I would say puts him around a B tier character. So that is Jayber. Next up, we have Luna. We're just going in the order down here. All of these are probably out of alphabetical order at this point, but that's fine. So we have Luna. Luna, when I first saw her, when I first heard about her, I was like, dude, she's going to be an S tier character. She's up here with these guys, and she's going to be amazing. But then they released her, and she was probably a D tier character, maybe a C tier character. A lot of people were saying at the time that she was released that she was an A tier character because she could buff people like Lepic and this is when Lepic was just like through the roof, and everybody was on this Lepic train of Lepic is burning down bosses in 10 seconds. And then they were like, oh, we'll put 3 Lepics in and a Luna, and it just makes them so much better. I'm sorry, but if you put in a 4th Lepic other than a Luna, the 4th Lepic is going to do more damage than that Luna is boosting the other 3 Lepics. It's just the way it is if you build them properly. But after playing with her a little bit, I am going to move her up a little bit. Well, I'm going to put her in the B tier. However, in all honesty, I'm going to say that most people are going to want her in the C tier, possibly the D tier. I'm only going to put her here because of a couple of the buffs that she got. She did get a buff that allows her, instead of buffing skill power, it boosts firearm damage. So she becomes very good in pretty much any scenario. If you have 3 other characters that are doing firearms, you have that Transcendent mod that changes that. If they're doing skill damage, you don't use that Transcendent mod. You switch it up to something different. Probably the one that now puts down the subwoofer thing or whatever it's called, the little speaker, and then it gives you bonuses where Luna is and where that speaker is, so it can kind of spread out a little bit. That's why I'm going to put Luna here in B tier. Although I think most people are going to want to put her down in C tier. The reason for that is because she is a beat character. You want to be shooting to the beat. She doesn't do a ton of damage herself. Even if you put in Noise Surge, her AoE damage, her mobbing damage is just kind of especially when you compare it to Bunny or Valby or Blair. She just doesn't do enough mobbing damage with her Noise Surge. So I don't really like that ability. I would rather buff up everybody else in my party. But if you play her properly and you get her in a group with 3 other people who know how to use Luna's abilities, then she can be absolutely insane. She can regenerate your mana very quickly, so then you can spam your abilities more. And then she can also increase your skill damage. So for somebody like a Viessa, somebody like a Lepic, those types of characters that you're going to be constantly using abilities, if they are near Luna, it's just going to increase the amount that they do. Now, is it better to still have a second Lepic versus a Luna and a Lepic? Yes, in my opinion. I would rather have 2 damaging characters or just a tank character or anything else other than a Luna. But if somebody comes in my party with a well-played Luna, just like if they come in my party with a well-played Jayber, I'm okay with that. Or even a well-played Ajax, I'm okay with those. A regular Lepic, also, I'm okay with that because he still has his grenade that sucks everything in. So anybody that comes in my party with a well-played anything in B tier, I'm happy with. But I would still prefer in a lot of situations to have some of these A or S tier characters. I almost never want these 2 down here. Although having a well-played Gley can be good, I just think Gley is so boring and tedious to play. I just don't like her. All right, that is that. Next up, we have Valby. Valby is honestly one of my favorite characters in the game, and it's very, very hard to not put her in S tier. But I'm going to put Valby down here in A tier. I honestly would probably put her up here in S tier. The reason for that is I think she's up there with Lepic as far as being able to mob very well. She's amazing at mobbing, and she also can do boss killing. I'm going to move Ultimate Valby, however, up to S tier. The reason for that is because of her, what's it called? Spiral, whatever it's called. Where is my Valby? Spiral Tidal Wave. I always forget the names of these, so I wrote them down. But Spiral Tidal Wave is the one that you use for Gluttony. So that moves the Ultimate Valby up to S tier specifically for fighting Gluttony. She's also very good at mobbing. She can put their water everywhere, which also increases the effects of electricity and non-element damage to anybody that gets hit by it, and it increases the status effect that weapons have on those by I think 2%. So it's not much, but it still adds a little bit more status effect trigger rate. So she has all those things. So the only reason I would put Ultimate Valby up here though is that one module. Now, if you are just going to use her Supply Moisture, which is the thing that I would say is probably the best on Valby, I would just put them both down here, right? Supply Moisture on an average run, doing just average things with Valby, is one of the best mods in the game. She increases her, I believe it's crit damage and her crit rate, or so. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it increases her firearm damage overall by a significant amount. It gives her almost 100% crit chance, and just does a ton of damage as long as she is standing in her own pool of water, which she almost always is, because you can increase the duration and the width of that pool, and she just got water everywhere, which is killing all the little things, allowing you to just focus on the main bosses that are in the area. So that's where I would put Valby. Very, very good character. So that's it. Yujin, we're going to save for last. So we're going to do Viessa next because we have a Viessa and we have an Ultimate Viessa. Viessa and Ultimate Viessa are very, 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 very close, right? I would almost put them in the same tier. I'm going to, however, put Viessa one tier up because, or Ultimate Viessa one tier up, because she has, what's the name of it? Absolute Zero or Cold Cohesion. Both of those are Ultimate Viessa exclusives. But Viessa, the way I like to play Viessa personally, is with Cold-Bloodedness, because it gets her Blizzard cooldown way down and increases the damage on it. And I believe, what weapon do I use with that? I can't remember off the top of my head right now which weapon it is, but she's got another weapon that you can use with that, and it just increases it a little bit more. So Viessa is a very, very good character. I'm going to put her in a B tier, but I'm going to put Ultimate Viessa in A tier. They are fantastic characters to play. I really, really like them, but you do have to build them properly to make them work. If you don't build them properly, then they're kind of trash. But if you want to put in the Absolute Zero or Cold Cohesion and Ultimate Viessa, she can run around and do some crazy mobbing. Her Blizzard ability is really good at mobbing as well, and that's why I would put her here. I can't put her up into S tier because you have Bunny is going to be way better at mobbing. Lepic is going to be better at mobbing and bosses. Valby's better at mobbing and bosses. And then Hailey is just the ultimate boss killer in the game. So Viessa just can't compete on that level. But she is down here with all of these other ones. She can do mobbing. She can do bossing. She's very, very, very good. Last but not least, we have Yujin. Yujin is a lot like Ajax to me, right? He's got some abilities that are very beneficial to the team. He's kind of up there with a Luna. He's got some abilities that are beneficial to the team. We're going to throw him up here in B tier. The reason for that is because he doesn't do a lot of damage. If he did more damage, I would put him up here in A tier, possibly even S tier, if we could somehow get more damage on him. Now, how you can make Yujin do more damage, there's two ways to do this. First, you have to have the Duty and Sacrifice module, right? That's the Transcendent module, Duty and Sacrifice. It allows him to hit his Duty and Sacrifice button, his 4 button, which is his ultimate ability, and it heals everyone in the party, no matter where they are in the dungeon, which is amazing. So if you're in a party with a bunch of people doing Colossus fights, they could be all over the place, and you hit it, and everybody heals to full, assuming you have it, have his abilities and everything worked out properly. But you can heal them, at least 50 to 75% of their health. And let's assume that they are, more than 25% health left when you actually hit it. If they're about dead, like at 1%, it might only pop them up to 50 to 75%. The thing is, though, it sounds like a 15-second cooldown. I took that thing down from a 50-second cooldown to 15 seconds, and he can heal people 100% all the way up to max every 15 seconds. Now, when he does that, he also there's another module that is called Passionate Sponsor. Passionate Sponsor increases your skill damage and your firearm attack power by 70%. It is a huge amount, but the drawback to it is you have to buff people. You have to constantly be buffing people to maintain that, because I think it's only a 10-second duration on it, so you have to have that buff constantly going. And the cool thing about Yujin is he's constantly buffing people. He puts out, his Duty and Sacrifice every 15 seconds. He literally buffs everyone. He throws a turret on there on somebody that heals them and buffs them. And it's just constantly ticking. So he's always buffing them. He always has that Passionate Sponsor buff up, giving him that 70% increased damage after, I think it's 10 ticks or whatever, 10 second. It's 10 of whatever stacks. And he gets 7% damage, I believe. It's something along those lines. Look at Passionate Sponsor. It's very, very good. In addition to that, if you give him the Divine Punishment gun, he'll get stacks of glory because he is doing his ability, which will debuff enemies as well. And that will give him stacks of glory. And that stacks of glory, I think he can get up to 10 stacks. I don't remember exactly what it is. Anyway, it increases his his damage using, it might be 50 stacks actually, which increases his damage and fire attack damage by like 20%, because I think it's 0.4%. I don't know the numbers right off the top of my head, but that's another really good weapon for him. However, I just usually use the Enduring Legacy on him, just because the Enduring Legacy is such a good weapon, and you can just run around and you have the Divine Punishment with the Passionate Sponsor, or sorry, Duty and Sacrifice with Passionate Sponsor, which is just going to increase his damage significantly. But those are a couple ways that you can play him. He also does have another ability that I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's the one where he poisons enemies, and then that poison will spread, making him actually a very, very good mobber. If you can learn to do that, you might be able to move him up into A tier. I didn't find it very easy to use, especially in groups, in a group setting, because other players were running around killing things so fast that Yujin just wasn't able to keep up and keep things, dotted with his, whatever it's called, his little contagious, like an injection thing or whatever. But that spreads much like Freyna's does. Freyna's, however, does, I think they both do an AoE explosion, but then Freyna's, I think, leaves it on the ground, whereas Yujin just spreads it to the next enemy close by. And then when you kill that enemy, it spreads again. When you kill that enemy, it spreads again, and so on. So that ability is very, very good for him. However, I found that Duty and Sacrifice was better for my play style. So you can mess around with him. You might move him up to an A tier. I'm leaning on A tier for myself, but I put him at the B tier just because I feel like he is, there's a lot going on there that you have to kind of keep up with. And I don't like dealing with that on a very fast paced game. Anyway, that is my tier list of the current characters. Like I said, we do have the Ultimate Freyna coming in. She's going to have some Transcendent mods that might adjust this a little bit, putting her from A tier up to S tier, possibly. I don't think it's going to move her that much, to be honest with you, but we'll have to see how that Transcendent mod does. It won't move her down, obviously, because it can't make her worse than what she currently is. You just don't use the new Transcendent mod. It can only go up from here. And then we also have Hailey. She's going to get some Transcendent mods on the 10th as well, which obviously you can't move her down by giving her more stuff. She's going to be here at S tier. Some people may say that Hailey doesn't deserve to be S tier because she's only good at bossing, but that's why I put her and Bunny up here, is because Bunny is really mostly good at mobbing, not so great at bossing. She can be good at bossing, but other characters are better. And then Hailey is really good at bossing, but not so great at mobbing. But yeah, her Transcendent mod that's going to be coming out in a couple days might make her a little bit better, but she's already still S tier in my opinion. So that's it. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, subscribe, follow. I do stream daily over on Twitch, so come on over. We'll chat about these things. Maybe you agree with some of these. Maybe you disagree with some of these. I'd love to hear your feedback. So please, put those down in the comments, and, maybe we can have a nice, friendly discussion about it. I'm not going to get into a bunch of arguments about why I do these. This is my personal tier list, not based on, the whole of the game, but just how I feel about each of these characters. Like I said, thanks for watching, and hopefully I see you next time. Bye.